Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? What became of my voice? Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? Am I just another echo, lost in the noise? You promised liberty, you promised peace. Said this was a land where hate would cease. But I see the same lies, the same old game. Caught in the crossfire, pawn the blame. I'm tired of being a victim of shame. Labeled and boxed, then tossed in the flames.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us.
They don't care about us. All I wanna say is they don't care about us.
NAACP, BLM, voices raised, names on the list. They say they see change, but we're caught in the mist. Red or blue tie, just different suits. Talking the same talk, they don't walk in our boots. Every debate, every press release, a stage performance, but where's the peace? Man, if King was here, he'd be marching still. He'd be seeing through the smoke, fight for real.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us.
Nah, they don't really care about us.
No, they don't really care about us.
All I wanna say is
that they don't really care about us.
No,
they don't really care about us. It just was really, it hits home, and it's obviously that they don't care about us.
They don't care about us. They don't care about us. They don't care about us.
See, some things in life they don't want to show. What's buried deep down, what's hid below. If Malcolm was here, he'd shout and fight. He'd see the same battle, he'd make it right. Everybody's mad, situation's tight. Tensions building, wrong versus right. Black or not, it's the news they sell. Slinging division, a story to tell. Kick me, push me, mark me as weak, but you'll never break me. My spirit won't leak. You can't twist the truth, painted in lies. One day we'll rise and open your eyes.
They took our history, but they can't take the songs of redemption, the pulse of the resistance.
Good morning. So you already know how I already do this. Welcome to the Urban Conservative presents Disenfranchised Voter, and today I'll be talking about fake leaders and real consequences. But before we get into all that, I got Rashad Lee and Nothing to Lose, and I'll be right back right after this.
Woo! 2025 shit. I'ma keep it a buck when I say I ain't playing. I'm here for a reason, been mine for the taking. I kept my composure, the hunger I'm craving. I fought all my demons, this shit feel amazing. Why would I care if they want me to stop? I don't know, nigga, it's better you not. Either you being with me or you dead against me, but ain't nobody taking my spot. Nobody be tripping, you really gon' do it? I don't know, lately I've been going through it. Mine been on racing, they testing my patience. I learned to embrace it, but fuck how they moving. Focused on me, give a damn what they doing. Rap shit be easy, I'm steady improving. They try to judge me, I question the ruling. Why hate on a nigga, you been in pursuit, and this shit be confusing. Second guessing, sadly I'm guilty, but learn my lesson. Pain pills, did the shit for thrills, and even at my worst, did nobody test me. At my bottom, ain't nobody bless me. Couple problems, but they won't address me. Rumor has it, I be having my way, they behaving different, but it don't impress me. I've been feeling like fuck everybody, I'm bugging. Hate that I feel like I do this for nothing. Can't trust my niggas, I feel like they frontin'. Back on the wall, got me swinging and punching. I'm making a way, they ain't giving me nothing. So fuck it, my nigga, let's do what it do. I'ma be patient, my nigga, it's different than waiting. My nigga, it's all in the view. Nobody solid, it's only a few. Who to trust? Nigga lame as fuck. Really double cross me, wanna give him the pew. Situations got me thinking different. There's some shit that maybe I should probably improve. Imitators try to copy my moves. Instigators trying to fuck up my groove. My foot on the gas, I got nothing to lose. So this what it do when I say I ain't playing. I'm here for a reason, been mine for the taking. I kept my composure, the hunger I'm craving. I fought all my demons, this shit feel amazing. Why would I care if they want me to stop? I don't know, nigga, it's better you not. Either you being with me or you dead against me, but ain't nobody taking my spot. Nobody be tripping, you really gon' do it? I don't know, lately I've been going through it. Mine been on racing, they testing my patience. I learned to embrace it, but fuck how they moving. Focused on me, give a damn what they doing. Rap shit be easy, I'm steady improving. They try to judge me, I question the ruling. Why hate on a nigga, you been in pursuit, and this shit be confusing. Demolition, parting ties, I made a big decision. Felt the pressure, had to seek revision. I was in my bag, but still a piece was missing. Hustle hard, I'm trying to seek provisions. At my brink, I told them keep their distance. Truth be told, I'm in a peak position. Learn to use my voice, and when I speak, they listen. Can't believe what the hell am I seeing? They rewarding the fake, am I dreaming? Maybe I've been mistaken the meaning. Had to switch up the root, nigga scheming. Had to clear out my closet, I'm cleaning. While rappers be shit like a pile, they steaming. I don't know, nigga, give us a reason. Capping should be a matter of treason. And these suckers ain't never in season. If I can't be real, what's the point of me breathing? I don't love it, no point in me bleeding. I don't need them, no point in me pleading. Speculation, no point in me feeding. I'm speaking no facts and I leave it at that. People judge, I ain't feeling attacked, so they talk out of turn and I give them my back. Ain't no reason to cap. Matter of fact, when I say I ain't playing, I'm here for a reason. Been mine for the taking. I kept my composure, the hunger I'm craving. I fought all my demons, this shit feel amazing. Why would I care if they want me to stop? I don't know, nigga, it's better you not. Either you being with me or you dead against me, but ain't nobody taking my spot. Nobody be tripping, you really gon' do it? I don't know, lately I've been going through it. Mine been on racing, they testing my patience. I learned to embrace it, but fuck how they moving. Focused on me, give a damn what they doing. Rap shit be easy, I'm steady improving. They try to judge me, I question the ruling. Why hate on a nigga you been in pursuit, and this shit be confusing.
Yo. What's up? Good morning. And today I'm talking about fake leaders, real consequences. And I wanted to start off first in Rochester, Minnesota with the Shiloh Hendricks situation. And I know some people aren't going to maybe have the same opinion and the same thoughts about it. Well, I want to talk about it. So there's this Daily Wire that Matt Walsh he did on in Rochester, about Rochester, and that's what I wanted to play first. So she was charged with disorderly conduct for saying the nigger word, and I think we're setting a bad precedent to charge somebody for expressing their feeling, their First Amendment right. It wasn't any threatening. It wasn't a person that, it was a woman that was, it was wrong. I'm not saying that it was right. I'm saying that it was wrong, but we could handle it so much differently. But instead, a lot of people are indoctrinated and not educated. So, but before I get into, really the episode, I want to play Matt Walsh. So here we go with Matt Walsh, and Minnesota mom faces jail time for saying the N-word.
The city of Rochester is going to imprison Shiloh Hendricks for saying nasty things to some Somalis in a park. They saw the words offensive language and thought they had a case. Preposterous. If you can bring yourself to think back to the Obama years, you'll remember that the so-called religious right was relentlessly mocked for making various predictions that, in the eyes of enlightened liberals, couldn't possibly come to pass. The religious right said that Roe v. Wade was not an infallible decision and that it could be overturned. They said gay marriage was an abomination that would pave the way for various forms of child abuse, including the evil of transgenderism. They said religious freedoms would be suspended and that LGBT activists would use the power of government to force Christians to violate their deeply held beliefs. They said that abortion would give rise to a broader culture of death where euthanasia became commonplace, especially in godless places like Canada and California. All of these predictions, of course, have turned out to be right on the money. Pretty much everyone, regardless of their political affiliation, can see that now. The religious right is owed an apology by many, many people. But there's one prediction of the religious right, one that was endlessly derided for pretty much the entirety of Barack Obama's presidency, that still gets a very bad rap, even though it was also an accurate prediction. And I'm talking about the alleged moral panic about the possibility that Democrats would soon implement a variant of Sharia law in the United States. Now, surely we were told thousands of times this was a classic example of bigotry and Islamophobia. Barack Obama is supposedly a Christian, after all. How could he or anyone else possibly transform America's legal system into something resembling the Islamic legal code? That was a conspiracy theory, the fact checkers told us. It was a lie concocted by Fox News to brainwash older voters who don't know any better. Even today, many conservatives still hold this view. For many self-described members of the right, it's still unthinkable that America's legal system, easily the most durable and functional system in the West, could one day look a lot like the Sharia courts in, say, Mogadishu. Now, the problem is that for reasons that were never fully explained to the American public, we have imported hundreds of thousands of Somalis into the United States. And when you're talking about numbers that large, then inevitably transformation will occur. This transformation won't simply involve the construction of mosques, the establishment of Somali sporting leagues, the commencement of regular Islamic celebrations in the streets and all that. It will also involve the implementation of a new legal system, one that has absolutely nothing in common with any Western tradition, much less our own. And indeed, that's exactly what has taken place in Minnesota, one of America's largest states. In Minnesota, America's system of laws is now effectively defunct. It has been replaced, as the religious right had warned, with a primitive and oppressive legal code that is far more in common with Sharia law than anything the founders put in writing. And if that sounds like hyperbole, well, ask yourself this. When you saw the story of Shiloh Hendricks a few months ago, what did you think would happen to her? Now, in case you've forgotten, in April, shortly after 6 p.m., Shiloh Hendricks was at a park in Rochester, Minnesota with her 18-month-old son. That's when another boy around the age of 8 went rummaging through her diaper bag and removed an applesauce pouch from it. Eventually, Shiloh Hendricks chased the boy down, retrieved her property, though not before she uttered, apparently, a few racial slurs. And that's when a Somali man, who was also there, started filming. Now, we'll play some of this just as a refresher, although the slurs will be censored. And, of course, you've already seen this video, but here it is again.
Did you call him a child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him a... Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again? All right, that's...
You don't go digging through people's
Nobody digging into your...
A little kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him...
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, an N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be for that.
I don't give...
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Again, when you saw this story back in April, what did you think would happen to Shiloh Hendricks? There were really only two options that anybody considered. The first possibility was that Shiloh would be canceled by the outraged mob. Her life would be destroyed for saying a few naughty words in frustration. The other possibility was that conservatives would do the right thing and fight back. They'd raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for Shiloh and send a very clear message that cancellation campaigns don't work anymore. That's not because conservatives support the use of bad language in public parks or they support using racial slurs. It's because the right to freedom of speech is paramount. And also people are tired of these cancellation mobs. And the only way to take power away from them is to respond in that way. What no one seriously expected, because it would be too preposterous, is that government officials in Minnesota would attempt to throw Shiloh in prison. I mean, after all, in the United States, we have something that Somalia doesn't have. We have a First Amendment, and the First Amendment prevents the government from arresting American citizens for saying bad words. And that includes racial slurs. It includes speech that most people find highly offensive. We aren't Canada. We're not North Korea. So unless you're threatening to murder someone or assault them, which Shiloh wasn't doing, then you won't be prosecuted. That's how things work in the United States. That's how things have always worked here. So how could anyone put Shiloh Hendricks in handcuffs over this? Well, that would have been a reasonable question, say, 20 years ago. But a lot has changed since then. And most notably, large portions of the state of Minnesota, practically speaking, are no longer part of the United States. More than 100,000 residents of Minnesota speak Somali. There are so many Somalis in Minnesota that they hold their own Independence Day celebrations. They're electing public officials who explicitly promise to work on behalf of Somalia rather than Americans. And now they're carrying over the great Somali legal tradition as well, which means, among other things, no freedom of speech. If you upset Somalis in Minnesota, then they're going to try to put you in jail. And that is why yesterday the city of Rochester, Minnesota, announced that it plans to bring criminal charges against Shiloh Hendricks. This is directly from the city's website. Quote, the Rochester City Attorney's Office is filing a complaint summons stemming from the April 28th, 2025 incident that occurred at Roy Sutherland Park playground at Soldiers Field Park. The draft complaint charges Shiloh Hendricks with 3 counts of disorderly conduct under Minnesota statute 609.72, a misdemeanor level charge with a maximum of 90 days in jail and or a $1,000 fine. Yes, the city of Rochester is going to attempt to imprison Shiloh Hendricks for saying nasty things to some Somalis in a park, including a child who stole her property and a Somali man who began harassing her afterwards and putting her on camera. Because of that, Shiloh is supposedly guilty of disorderly conduct. And in an attempt to explain these charges, the mayor of Rochester, Kim Norton, put out the following statement. As I read this, we'll put an image of this mayor up on the screen. If you're a podcast listener, if you're listening to the audio, well, it's she looks exactly as you would imagine. But here's the statement, quote, "This was a situation that deeply affected many people, especially our communities of color, and caused real turmoil in our community. We acknowledge the lasting impact this incident has had, not only on those directly involved and across our community, but also in the broader conversations happening at the state and national level. These moments remind us of the complexity and far-reaching impacts of situations like this. The city remains committed to staying engaged and proceeding with transparency and care, continuing efforts that support accountability and progress in Rochester." Now, meanwhile, the city added that, quote, "This matter involved a large amount of evidence and required careful consideration of potential charging options across multiple offices. As the legal process moves forward, the city recognizes not only the significant attention and emotion surrounding this case, but also the complex and lasting impact situations like this have on communities of color and our broader community." If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity, or even they can even sell your property, and you won't know it's happened until it's too late. So you get a collection or a foreclosure notice. So when's the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, which it probably is for a lot of you, you need to do something about it right now. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. I know quite a few of the producers here that have, and different teams at Daily Wire have used Home Title Lock to help protect their homes, and they all rave about their service and the peace of mind they provide. Well, look, don't wait until it's too late. Take a moment right now. Code Walsh. Now, these statements taken together are an admission by the city that Shiloh Hendricks is being prosecuted for political reasons. By their own admission, the city was concerned about the attitudes of various demographic groups before deciding whether to bring a criminal case. Specifically, they were worried about what Somalis thought, and because Somalis were deeply offended, they've decided to suspend the First Amendment effectively in Rochester. Now, before we get into the specifics of the criminal complaint, which is even more of a farce than you're already imagining, it needs to be said that as quickly as possible, Shiloh Hendricks should file a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Rochester. The mayor, Kim Norton, should be arrested in the same way that Douglas Mackey was jailed by the Biden administration. You remember that case? They charged Douglas Mackey with committing a conspiracy against rights, meaning that he supposedly conspired to infringe on the right to vote by making a meme. Well, Kim Norton is actually engaging in a much more obvious conspiracy against rights. She's openly admitting that she's attempting to eliminate the First Amendment rights of women like Shiloh Hendricks. Now, it becomes extremely obvious when you look at this criminal complaint. We'll put that up on the screen here. These are the 3 counts. They're all the same, but they all apply to separate, quote, victims. And here's what they say, quote, "On or about April 28, 2025, within the city of Rochester, Shiloh Hendricks, while in a public or private place and knowing or having reasonable grounds to know that it would or would tend to alarm, anger, disturb others, or provoke an assault or a breach of the peace, did wrongfully and unlawfully engage in offensive, obscene, abusive, boisterous, or noisy conduct, or in offensive, obscene, or abusive language that would reasonably tend to arouse alarm, anger, or resentment in others." Yes, saying something that other people resent is a crime now. Now, already you've probably noticed the problem here. What this law is intended to outlaw, very clearly, is behavior that's so disruptive that it causes an unreasonable disruption to other people's lives. So, for example, if you're playing loud music at a party at 2 a.m. and people can't sleep, then that would qualify as noisy behavior that disturbs others and breaches the peace. Along the same lines, if you block the doorway of a building and tell everyone that they'll have to fight you if they want to enter, then you can be accused of alarming others and provoking an assault. So those would be reasonable examples of disorderly conduct under this law and under really any law that deals with disorderly conduct. What happened in this case is that after the Somalis and liberal women of Rochester saw the viral video, they went looking through the law to find some way to charge Shiloh Hendricks. And then they deliberately interpreted this particular law in a highly literal and frankly demented manner. They saw the words offensive language and thought they had a case. The problem is that this law, like every other law, is subordinate to the U.S. Constitution. You cannot read any law in such a way as to conflict with the Constitution. As applied to Shiloh Hendricks, that's clearly what they're doing here. Shiloh Hendricks did not disrupt anybody's life. She didn't cause a breach of the peace. There's no evidence that anybody was unreasonably alarmed by her actions in that park. No one felt that their physical safety was in jeopardy because of Shiloh Hendricks. And she didn't go to the park with the intention of causing any kind of disruption. She responded to the fact that a Somali child had stolen her property and then ran away with it. And she may have responded in a way verbally that was offensive to people, but you're allowed to do that. Free speech. Literally speech. She was saying something. She was expressing a point of view that you might not agree with and you find offensive, but if that's not free speech, then free speech doesn't exist. I mean, it really is that simple. If saying the N-word in the park is not free speech, then we don't have free speech. And this whole point is actually confirmed in the text of the complaint. So let's put that on the screen here.
I want to stop it there for a minute because I think a lot of people don't understand. I do believe that saying the N-word is wrong. I do believe saying the N-word, especially to kids. You know what I'm saying? But we have to be honest here. We have to tell the truth, right? Not everybody is black, and that's what I'm tired of, because when we were younger, when I was a kid, they were known, even when I was in high school, my senior year in high school, or even a young adult, the people around me, I've seen Nigerians, I've seen Somalians, but they didn't like being called black. So why is it now that we can compare, our people can co-opt our movement? I feel like it's a movement, you know what I'm saying? Because we still have, in my eyes, we still have a lot of, since 1965, since Jim Crow, since slavery, we haven't gone very far. Don't get me wrong, we have gone far, but not as far as enough, because I feel like people have stuck a knife in like 9 inches, but then we only go an inch or two out, but you're still sticking us. You still have that knife in there. Even though you took a couple inches out, it's still there. And that's what people don't understand. So, and I agree with, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Rochester's is no. Why are we charging Shiloh, but we didn't charge anybody for when they put the nigger on the bridge, where that affected everybody, not just one person. And the only reason why it affected others is because a person put it on social media, TikTok. Or what about the time where they vandalized and put all this racist ass shit on, the fuck is her name? Kim Hicks' house. When are we actually going to sit down and have tough ass conversations instead of blocking people or thinking people are lying or people are trying? No, that's not what it is. A lot of people get in their feelings because it's the truth. Not that it's a lie. That's why, that's the crazy thing, because I sit here and I'll go through like social media or whatever, and I see the interactions between people. But I always see the motherfuckers that are out here doing the wrongest shit. They barely ever say anything on social media. They're always trying to hide. But then when you put their name out there, that's when they like to start talking. That's when they like to start getting active. And that's what I really want to do, because I'm going at Kim Norton, Kim Hicks, Alex, I think his name is Andy Smith. I'm going at the Rochester City Council, the public school board, Rochester Public Schools, because this affects everybody. It doesn't affect one person. It affects everybody. So what my understanding is, why don't we want better for all instead of better for just one set of people? I don't understand that. So I'm going to get into this. I think there's like about a little 5 minutes left.
And as you can see, it states that a man identified as SHJ was in the park with his 3 children. One of them, YJ, is 8 years old and autistic. The man, SHJ, told police that his son approached a diaper bag that belonged to someone else, and he took an applesauce pouch from the bag. And then YJ climbed the playground equipment in an attempt to get away from his father and from the defendant. It was only at that point, according to the complaint, that defendant became very angry and shouted and repeatedly used a racial epithet. The rest of the complaint simply describes the video that we've already seen And then there's this paragraph at the end, quote, SHJ explained that YJ, as well as his other children, were very scared and troubled by defendant's hateful words and conduct. Well, that's just too bad, isn't it? This guy was scared and troubled by the defendant's hateful words, and we're supposed to care about his personal reaction for some reason. The complaint does mention that other adults and children were in the park, but they don't include any information about their reactions, probably because, they didn't have much of a reaction or they didn't care. So that's what we're left with. The Somali whose child stole something felt scared and troubled by the fact that she was angry, and so now she has to go to jail. Now, of course, Shiloh also felt troubled. That's what happens when someone steals your property and runs away with it. It's also what happens when you flood Minnesota with Somalis who are incapable of assimilating with American culture and who degrade the quality of life for actual American citizens every single day. But we're not supposed to care about Shiloh's perception of events. We're just supposed to be mortified that she said words that troubled and scared other people. Never mind the fact that it's not a crime to say words that other people find troubling, unless those words are threats of violence, which this wasn't. But in Rochester, they're not using our legal system anymore. They're using Somalia's. This is a case that merits the immediate involvement of the DOJ's Civil Rights Division. There is no way the Trump administration can permit a local government to override the constitutional rights of an American citizen. And if this continues, we'll end up like so many other Western countries that are now effectively governed by barbarians. That's the case in Dundee, Scotland. You may have seen this video from the other day. A 14-year-old girl and her 12-year-old sister were being harassed by an adult man, apparently one of those asylum seekers we're told about. And eventually she produces a weapon to ward the man off. And then what ends up happening? She's the one who gets arrested.
That's where I'm going to cut it off at, because this is UK. It's not in our country. It's not things that I feel like we should be talking about. So I want to talk about what's continuing, right? Because everybody wants to talk about, oh, we're Christian, we're this, we're that, right? So I wanted the 10 Commandments, since everybody wants to say, oh, you're religious, you're this, you're that. No, it's really not about any of that for me. Let me see is that it? No. Okay, here we go. Here's the first one. So number 1 is worship only God. You shall have no other gods before the Lord. And I only answer to one higher power. I don't sit here and pray to Allah. And no, I have one God. I have one Yusha. That's it. That's it. So I'm gonna pray. Don't pray for me because I don't know who you're praying to. So number 2 in the commandments is no idols. Do not worship graven images or idols. I don't sit in pews because too many take Yusha's name in vain. That's why. Let's really talk about everything. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be just about. That's why it bothers me so much when it comes to, other activists that say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But what are you doing it for? Because I'm doing it for Black lives. I'm doing it for Black gays, Black trans, Black kids, Black women that are chattel slavery. I'm not saying that we need to be doing evil shit and all that to immigrants. I'm not saying that. But why are we literally, these people are not from here. And I'm being honest now, right? Because other countries don't do the shit that we do. And I feel like it's because our politicians would rather get along with everybody than sit here and then to stand up on something that they mean, right? And number 3 is respect God's name. Do not take the name of the Lord in vain. And to me, it's the same as above. Too many disrespect his name. Number 4 in the 10 Commandments is keep the Sabbath holy. Observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Resting from work. I set aside one day as my Sabbath, even if I fall short sometimes. And I do fall short. I'm a work in progress. I'm not up here, oh, I'm perfect. But no, I still have things that I need to work on. And then I am working on. People are like, you're not working. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm doing. You're not in my daily life. You're not a part of my circle. You're not a part of the people that I even want to, that we have love and loyalty. I'm tired of the fake love and the fake loyalty, right? So number 5, honor your parents. Respect and obey your father and mother. I've shown respect. but it's hard to honor those who walked away when life got tough. It's the same thing. You know, if my kids tell me, well, you know, they don't respect me because of some things that I did, well, you know, to put me in prison or things that I've done to them. But if it's things that other people have said, why do I need to feel bad if that's not even the case? If that's not even the truth? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I don't understand is like people always tell one side of a situation, but not the whole truth. They tell part of a truth, but not the whole truth, right? Number 7, do not commit adultery. Stay faithful in marriage. Me, I put my cheating days behind me. I'm committed to one woman now, Ashley. I used to be a cheater. Man, I can lie about that all day. I can sit up here and talk about that, not lie about it, talk about it all day. My youngest 3 kids, my Chaz and Rosalie's mom, didn't even know me by my real name. They knew me. She knew me. I shouldn't say them. She knew me by my dad's name, not mine. But it's funny. Yeah, never mind, dude. You know, people they only want to show one side of you, not the whole side of you. So number 8, do not steal. Do not take what belongs to others. I used to be a thief, but now I fight to live clean and respect what's not mine. Number 9, do not lie. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. I only speak on what I've researched and studied. I don't move on lies. I used to, not anymore. That was the 2020, 2021 Chaz. 2025 Chaz is not like that anymore. And then we have number 10, do not covet. Do not desire what belongs to others, like their house, spouse, or possessions. I've cut jealousy and envy out of my heart. What's mine is mine, and that's enough. I don't, you know, that's the one crazy thing. I used to think I had to have it all. No. Because when you want more, there's more problems. Just like they said, like Biggie and all of them said before us, like in the 90s, more money, more problems. If you ain't got no money, you ain't got no problems. I mean, you have them, but they're life or death problems. They're not problems that can be solved with money. They're problems that can be solved with attention, with tender love and care, and doing it the right way. Not just, oh, we're talking about it and we're going to move on. No, that's not the way that it should be. So I want to get into Star Tribune came out with an article, and I'm going to play it. It's about I think it's like 6 minutes long or whatever. But I'm going to play it. It's from the Star Tribune, and it's about generations of vulnerable kids lured to join violent ranks of Minneapolis gangs, the feds say.
Vulnerable kids lured to join violent ranks of Minneapolis gangs, feds say. Federal racketeering trials have revealed a troubling trend of Minneapolis street gangs coaxing young children to do their dirty work. By Sarah Nelson, the Minnesota Star Tribune, September 2, 2025 at 5 a.m. Young men and teens play basketball during open gym on August 20 at Sabathani Community Center in Minneapolis. Sabathani Community Center hosts various events throughout the week to encourage community organization and outreach for youth. One of them is Open Gym, held every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Aaron Levinsky, the Minnesota Star Tribune. Scott Red watched as 5 young men juked the basketball around defenders, putting up jump shots as music boomed and people trickled in and out. On a typical night, Open Gym at Sabathani Community Center draws 40 to 50 people from around the neighborhood. To Red, Sabathani's chief executive, the scene in front of him is part of the reason he describes the nonprofit as the heart of South Minneapolis, not just because of its location along E. 38th Street, but also because of the range of services it offers the community, including food distribution, senior housing and career services. As Red described the resources that flow through Sabathani, he also spoke of a darker reality that's long haunted the young people walking through their doors. This is a Bloods neighborhood, he said, referring to the gang that's long had a violent grip in South Minneapolis. About a mile south of Lake Street, Sabathani falls in territory claimed by the Bloods, gang that, for decades, dealt drugs and committed gun crimes against their rivals. Though their violent dealings made headlines, a series of federal racketeering trials against their members and that of other prominent Minneapolis gangs, the highs and the lows, have shed light on another sinister trend at the heart of their enterprise, the indoctrination of young children to do their dirty work. For generations, Minneapolis gangs have lured vulnerable children at tender ages through promises of protection, a lucrative life, or by preying on their desire for acceptance. In actuality, prosecutors said, the children served as the gang's cannon fodder. While the Bloods have wreaked havoc throughout the Minneapolis metro area, they have done the most damage to the community within their would-be kingdom. Read sentencing documents by Christian Weir, the assistant U.S. attorney for Minnesota, who prosecuted a case against the South Minneapolis gang. The impact of the Bloods gang within this community begins with their predation on its children. Assistant U.S. attorneys Christian Weir, from Left, Albania Concepcion, acting U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Carla Baumel and Thomas Calhoun Lopez pose for a portrait at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis. Layla Navidi, the Minnesota Star-Tribune. Putting in work. The kingdom of Minneapolis gangs is made up of loosely associated cliques, defined more by their enemies than rivalries over defined territory. This is a neighborhood and a regional gang culture that has emerged here, said Carla Baumel, Assistant U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, who helped prosecute members of the North Minneapolis gang, the Highs. Not any less dangerous, or any less violent, or any less significant to the community, but our gangs here in Minnesota just are structured a little bit differently. The web of cliques, federal prosecutors told the Minnesota Star-Tribune, offered its most at-risk youth a sense of belonging. A lot of these young guys that I'm sentencing, that is a very similar pattern, said Albania. Concepcion, a federal prosecutor also part of the Highs racketeering prosecution. The instability in their early childhood lives that lead to them seeking belonging somewhere else, and then they conflate the violence and the crime with the protection of the family unit that they're looking for. Though the gangs offered the promise of a surrogate family, their motive was exploitative. Belonging, court records describe, is shown by putting in work or committing petty crimes, such as graffiti or fighting, on behalf of the gang. The offenses later escalate into violence on behalf of the gang. Prosecutors said the practice was evident during a fatal shooting outside Williams Pub in Uptown in 2022. Moments before gunfire erupted, a member of the Bloods handed a loaded .45 caliber pistol to a 16-year-old. The teen fired 7 times at the victim outside the crowded Uptown bar. 2 juveniles were also implicated in a murder at the heart of a federal racketeering trial against the Highs this spring. In 2021, 3 associates of the Highs mistook an innocent bystander for a member of a rival gang outside a market in the 1800 block of Glenwood Avenue. They chased after him in a stolen car with 2 juveniles inside. They then let the minors out and gave clear instructions to finish him. The man died after suffering 8 gunshot wounds. Watching those interviews of those 2 juveniles, you can tell that they were little kids, Concepcion said. They were scared and they were being told to do this, and they were just following orders. At trial, a Bloods member testified he committed petty crimes for the group at age 14, just by mimicking what other people was doing. Another man described his introduction to Bloods gang members decades ago at the local Boys and Girls Club, where he played basketball and did homework. Everyone liked the Bloods, he explained, and they made money, so he wanted to join their crew. He was 8 years old at the time. The Bloods clearly follow an age-old marketing technique, targeting impressionable children, court filings said. Their presence has swept up untold numbers of South Minneapolis children for generations and will continue without adequate deterrence. Nancy Levine, dean of the Rutgers School of Criminal Justice, said recruiting youth is a common tactic for gangs nationwide, often because the justice system doesn't penalize youth as harshly as adults. But strategies to steer kids away from gangs, such as providing jobs to make money, is more difficult when considering kids as young as the ones being recruited by Minneapolis groups. It creates quite a dilemma, how you disrupt this practice without criminalizing youth, Lavinia said. One method, she suggested, is imposing harsher penalties for adults who prey on minors to join their groups. The enticement of young children served as the linchpin for the U.S. government's arguments to levy stiff sentences against dozens of Minneapolis gang members. following their federal racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO trials. But beyond the courtroom, prosecutors said, there's a layer of difficulty in deflecting youth from things that have an innate appeal, like money and cars. The problem deepens when many of the children have relatives steeped in the gang life. It's cyclical, Weir said. It's very easy for someone to come in, who's succeeded in life, and say, choose a different path. It's more complicated than, let's give more resources. Social media shift. The boy wanted companionship, some friends to hang out with and have his back. That was the reason why, at 10 years old, he joined the Bloods despite the group handing him a beatdown. After he unwittingly walked through a group of their members on his way home from football practice. The price for acceptance, federal prosecutors described, was steep. The Bloods slowly brought him up as a violent enforcer who attacked rival members and assaulted his peers who deviated. When asked decades later why he would return to such a crew, he offered a simple explanation: he wanted friends and people to kick it with. At the time, the boy's story was common. Gangs would recruit at parks, sporting events, or neighborhood hangout spots, recalled Nigel Sharper, who leads the Violence Interrupters program for Sabathani Community Center. Now, recruiting has taken a much larger platform by shifting online, he's observed. Social media has become the tool for members to make connections, build trust, and create a sense of belonging for impressionable youth. The practice effectively ensures younger generations follow in their footsteps, prosecutors said. To combat this, Sharper said Sabathani offers neighborhood youth a purpose and support network, such as mentorships, conflict mediation, paid job training, free food, and recreational activities. To him in red, Sabathani's CEO, deterrence looks like robbing gang life of its false glamour by offering an environment where they can belong. For us, we try to offer them those same things. We can protect them in this building. We can provide them with an opportunity to have a career, Red said. Get people off the street, but provide them with an opportunity once they're through those doors. Young men and teens play basketball during open gym on August 20 at Sabathani Community Center in Minneapolis. Aaron Levinsky, the Minnesota Star Tribune.
Man, that's crazy because, I'll go back to, saying that is that we have so many, it doesn't matter if it's church pastors, it doesn't matter if it's deacons, it doesn't matter if it's lawyers or community leaders, somebody, even state representatives. You know what I'm saying? When are we, everybody wants to help. This is my thing of it is, right? We all feel like a lot of people can do a lot of things for our communities or, our neighborhoods, but it's not allowed because one thing I feel is like political influence. A lot of people, this is the one thing that I can say, right? I feel like I grew up conservative, right? Not Republican, conservative, right? Because I believed in that family nucleus. I believe that if a family stayed together, if you know what I'm saying, it can achieve anything. But I feel like a lot of families were broken up. And that is a big problem. A lot of people don't want to talk about the broken home syndrome. They don't want to talk about that because this the thing of it is what a lot of people don't realize is that the shoe fits. So they might get mad about it, and tell you, oh, you're lying, you're doing this. Not because, first of all, that you're lying, but because you're making them realize that truth. Because you're making them look at that mirror. You're making them look at themselves. And that's what this is about, right? Because I'm going to tell you like this, out of most of the people that have been arrested on this RICO or, I can put it like this. Jerry McAfee's son has been rampant through the Twin Cities for years. He was in a shootout. I think it was like 2018. And you know what I'm saying? John Thompson's son, Derek Thompson, he murdered 5 Somalian girls trying to get away from the police. Let me say that again. Drove and hit another car recklessly and killed 5, not 5 black girls, 5 Somali. That's why people don't really talk about it much because it's Somalian girls. They weren't 5 black girls. It was 5 Somalian girls. And that's a problem. And then now we have Marques Armstrong, who is the son of the church deacon and the entrepreneur, Renaissance man, Marques Armstrong. And then the stepson of Nekima Levy Armstrong. But when you look up their GIS and all, you don't see Armstrong on there. You see Pounds. So what does that tell you? I feel like a lot of people already knew what was going on. So when they bought that new house, they didn't care if well, let's not put the Armstrong name on it. Let's just put the Pounds. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the city of Minneapolis should be suing some of these community leaders in a tort lawsuit. Because I'm going to tell you like this, there's people that sit here and talk about they're part of the solution. They're not. There's years and years of this. It's not just new. You know what the thing of it is? A lot of people will say, oh, a lot of these allegations and stuff are, they're not true. Listen, how is it that every time that we're told that if the roots are bad, how can any of the seeds of that root be any good? So why is it hard? I don't understand that. And another thing I wanted to play this morning, I got to go on, I think on Facebook. Oh, let me see. Yeah, Facebook. Because I wanted to show this. Charleston White. And I don't know the man's, his full, I think it's Anton Daniels. I think his name is. But I wanted to show the part of Charleston White, and I believe he's on Ashton Daniels.
I think that Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago,
Now I don't know you.
By way of our culture.
Why do you think that Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, all of these people, these mayors are trying to turn down the help from the federal government to actually stop the crime in the communities?
If you stop the problem in the black community, then what happens to all those 501c3s that get all this money? From Goodwill to DAV, the Boys and Girl Club, the black churches, all these motherfucking 501c3s that get all this money to help funnel, shake, control. What happened, nigga? This is how you control, nigga. You need these problems to control. And what do? You monetize the control. It's called control chaos. Nonprofit does nobody any good except the people that's running it. It's a scam it's a scam act like it's solving a problem.
So the real play is to continue to get funding, and that's one of the reasons why they don't really want crime to stop, because they can then use that.
And nonprofits was created to hinder and control social movements. That's why your Democratic Party is always saying, hey, we need more funding for this to hinder and control this movement over here. Say, hey, we want to make these people independent and strong. This is why they do not want to get rid of crime. All of the money that 501c3 gets, your police department gets, your Boys and Girls Club, there's a funding, there's a budget that every state, every city, every federal government got. It's called public safety. Now, California's police department have $1 billion budget. So they got $1 billion budget. That's damn near military's budget. How they can't control crime. If you want some help and you want some money and you need funding, look to your local police department. All your funding is over there. They like the NFL. They got the contract money. You know why? Your federal government give them all the money. That's why Trump said, if y'all don't do this, I ain't giving y'all no money. All the courts, it falls under the umbrella of public safety. So that's your courts, your police department, that's under public safety, crime prevention, crime intervention. So the police got $1 billion budget. 600 million belong to the police department. That's a lot of goddamn money.
Right. That is a lot of money.
Yep.
We ain't really fighting crime. We sitting over here. We sitting in the car. They call us. We come respond. We're not fighting crime. We're reacting to it. We're not being proactive. So we really letting it create. But we all getting paid. You got the Boys and Girls Club. They might get $2 million.
Right.
You got another 50 to 20 million that's going to these so-called community programs.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a lot of money, homie.
Right.
By way of our culture.
Why do you think that Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, all of these people?
That's the part that people really don't want to talk about, right? And that is
These mayors are trying to turn down the help from the federal government to actually stop the crime in the community.
To me, right? Because they don't really want to solve the issue. Because then when you start, see, here's the thing of it is crime brings money, right? So if crime gets out of hand, that means they got to put more money to public safety, right? So more money goes into these people's pockets. They like to put up that, oh, these few, but not everybody, right? Why is it just a few, but not everybody? And I don't, my thing is that people don't really understand that. They like to, oh, they're blind, like blind sheep. That's how I honestly see them, right? Because I feel like the Black community has been trapped in this cycle of hypocrisy for generations, elevating pastors, politicians, and hustlers while ignoring the rot in their own families. Protect their reputations. Oh, what the hell happened? Maybe nothing, dude. I don't know, something fucking happened. But it's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? And while they protect their reputations, our neighborhoods pay the price, right? And what I mean by that is that we have mothers bearing sons. We have children learning to duck bullets before they can even read. Schools in lockdown, entire blocks living in fear. And while our people suffer, these so-called leaders collect checks, pose for cameras, and cut deals with the very system they pretend to resist. This is not leadership. This is betrayal. Why can't people understand that? You know, everybody wants to go, oh, you're a rat, you're this. You work with, how am I a rat, right? A snitch, whatever. But y'all literally work with the police to get people that are innocent incarcerated. What is, to me, that's slavery. That's modern day slavery. But nobody wants to look at the nonprofits, that a lot of this shit is like a cycle. Not even, I shouldn't even say like it's a scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. There's a whole playbook to this that a lot of people don't want to understand. They don't want to understand, you know? And that's the hard part for me, because I see it with, you know, and I'm gonna reach out to Tom Evanstead, who's running for governor, because I really feel like he would be a very good person to have this type of conversation with, because this is a person that his whole time in prison, he said that he was innocent, even though he was committed for a crime that he said he did not commit. That was not the way that was in the criminal papers. So I really don't understand it, you know. And he's one of the people that want to break the silence, you know. And that's what I really, for me, right? Because this cycle continues only because we allow it, because we stay silent, because we whisper the truth in private, but refuse to speak in public. Nah, that ends now. Silence is killing us, and the community is waking up. Young people are tired. Mothers are tired. Families are tired of being afraid. They are tired of candlelight vigils and empty promises. That's why movements like Moms Demand Action and our youth themselves are rising up, not begging, demanding. And I want to talk about Moms on Demand for a minute, because, you know, every time, they're never in the neighborhoods when children are dying. You know, what kills me is that we had 3 children die in 2021. Nobody wanted to ban assault weapons when 3 Black kids got shot for doing the same things that these kids were doing in South Minneapolis. They were going to school, to mass. Anaya was just eating McDonald's. Trinity was just jumping on a trampoline. LaDavion was just riding with his dad. London Bean was just going to school and getting home. You know what I'm saying? Why don't we try to? I don't understand that. Nobody was speaking up for, and some people were, but a lot of people weren't speaking up for Terrell Mays or Takesha Edwards. We have a lot of murders that have gone unsolved, but the people want to get in an uproar because there was a school shoot, a church, school, whatever it was. But what about all the sexual complaints, allegations that have came out of there? Why are people silent about that? We didn't make change when all that happened. We shoved that under the rug. Y'all paid $280 million the Minneapolis diocese did. And the diocese, see what a lot of people don't understand, there was a lot of churches in the Minneapolis St. Paul diocese, right? The same way Winona Rochester they paid out a lot too when it comes to sexual allegations and abuse charges. They weren't legal. None of them. That's the one thing that pisses me off, right? Nothing's been legal. It's all been civil. So how can you take the same thing with Diddy, R. Kelly? We have people that are still out to this day doing that same shit, but nobody says nothing. They're buddy-buddy with these people. We don't have leaders, and that's just the straight up truth, because we have so many people that are okay with doing the wrongs in our community than standing up for what's right. And that's crazy to me, right? Because I didn't hear nobody say, oh, let's ban assault weapons right now. Okay, how does that help North Minneapolis? Because first of all, niggas aren't shooting each other with assault weapons. It's usually a gun with a switch on it. You know what I'm saying? High capacity magazine bans. We've been asking for that. All you see is little niggas over north with guns in their pockets, and you always see the extendo hanging out, even though they're not even old enough to be able to have a gun license. But they understand that it's dangerous where they live at, because if you live by the gun, you die by that motherfucker. A lot of people hate that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, no. Karma has a way of catching up. No matter what we do in life, it always catches up to us. Even though people don't want to admit to it, karma catches up. Karma catches up. And all I say is make sure that bitch is beautiful. That's all I say. Make sure that bitch is beautiful. And they're talking about right now a statewide office of violence intervention. And they're talking about now. What happened when we were asking for it in 2021? Or they were asking for it in 2020? Or they were asking for it in 2019? Only people want to take it serious now because it's hit their home. That's the only reason. They don't care about that it's hit our neighborhoods or our communities for years, right? Because they're saying these aren't radical demands. They're survival. But if they're survival, then why haven't we spoken about these sooner? Why haven't we spoken about these sooner, right? Malcolm X said something a long time ago, that the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. To me, that truth still holds. Our mothers bury their children. Our daughters grow up without fathers. Our sisters carry the trauma. And while they carry that burden, what do our so-called leaders give us? Hypocrisy, excuses, silence. And I'm asking, no more. Because I feel like this generation isn't afraid to call out the fake leaders. They aren't afraid to challenge the old order, and neither am I. You cannot lead your home. If you cannot lead your home, you cannot lead our people. If your children are part of the problem, you cannot pretend to be part of the solution, period. The future belongs to real leaders, leaders who protect, provide, and build, men and women who start with their own homes and refuse to sell out their people for a grant check or for a photo op. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, that's crazy. No, that's how it really should be. That's how it really should be. permanent office for 21 days of fleece and a mother's LLC. And right, it's always been like that. It hasn't, and that's the one thing, right? Because, we talk about 21 Days of Peace, which is by Jerry McAfee and Salem Inc, right? But then you go with a mother's love, right? And it trips me out because you have an ex-police officer in Lisa Clemens who runs A Mother's Love, but not only has she killed a black man while she was a police officer, she sits there and tells on snitches on our community. And you know what the crazy thing of it is? I used to ride around. I always rode in the Mazda when we had it, Betsy. That's what we named her, Betsy. I always had my paperwork. I always carried that. I had a bag, right? So even when I was arrested and I wanted to show people my probation papers because there was a part in there that was from Lisa Clemens and her organization, but it was under AMLI, and I couldn't understand what that was. So I asked my lawyer, I said, hey, what does that even mean? What is AMLI? And he's like, a mother's love initiative. And I said, wait, what? That's Lisa fucking Clemens in them. And then, so I was like, that's bullshit. So the day I got out of prison, jail, I drove all the way from Preston, Minnesota to Minneapolis. Actually, Brooklyn Center, because Dante Wright uprising was going on at that time. So I'm watching all of these things go on CNN. I'm watching Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, and some other people, and I'm like, damn, there's a lot going on. So when I get out of jail, I don't even, I was so into it is that I didn't even go home and take a shower. I went straight to Brooklyn Center as soon as I got out of jail. And it's always been like that. I haven't, just because people think I've stopped protesting, I haven't stopped. Just because y'all don't see me in front of the cameras anymore like I used to be. I'm only doing this I only do this podcast stuff now is because I want to put out a message, because everybody is so tired, or not tired. Everybody is so frustrated, or they get mad at the messenger, but never the message. So I'm going to be that person that I would rather people get mad at the messenger, me, than the actual message, because I know the message is being seen. So people can, I don't care if you're a drug dealer. I don't care if you're a wannabe gangbanger. We all bleed the same. That's not a threat. That's a promise. I'm not one of these motherfuckers from BLM or NAACP anymore. I'm not none of that. I'm a person that believes in the Second Amendment, that believes in protecting ourselves at all costs. And some of these niggas ain't like that. They talk that good game, but they don't walk it. And if you think I don't walk it, please do try. Please do try. That's the crazy thing. That's what I be waiting on. That's what I be waiting on. Every time that I, part of my thing of like being on probation is I have to do certain things, right? So, when I get messages from Script ENT, I had to put all those messages to my probation officer because some of those got out of hand on both of our parts. Rest in peace. But I'm never gonna shy away from calling out a person. And I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give if you're the president of the United States. I don't give a fuck if you're a church leader. I don't give a fuck if you dress up and you want to make motherfuckers happy. But if you're doing it wrong, I'm going to call you out. And that's the way I've always been. When I got into this, the one thing that I was always told, right, especially after that shit with the Red Wing police chief and his wife, when they put the HRO on me, the harassing restraining order, I learned then from Lori, rest in peace. She was married to Evan Brown in Red Wing. She helped me. Laura helped me. She made me realize that it doesn't matter as long as you're talking about the truth. You're talking about the truth. That's not slander. That's not, what is that other one? Defamation. That's the truth. That's the truth. These aren't lies. Why do you think when I sit here and I call people out for selling drugs, are putting fentanyl in our communities. I don't talk endlessly because I believe that's happening. No, I'm talking that because I know that it's happening. I have pictures. And that's the funny part to me is that people always, especially that are not a part of my main circle anymore, like family members or whatever, they'd be like, oh, you're lying. No, it's not. See, that's the old Chaz you knew from May 24th, 2020. He's not like that no more. He's not like that anymore. And I've always been there. But there's a time where you have to stand up for what's right and to stop being a coward. Because that's what a lot of people are in Minnesota, in my eyes, are. There's a lot going on. I'll say this shit was CERT. In Rochester, our Visions Church, you got motherfuckers dressing up like Yammy Bear or whatever. But let's talk about the fact that people were running off with a sex offender, and this is public information. These aren't lies. That's the same thing of like when I did a data request for information, because you got to put data requests in because they're not going to tell you the truth. Just like how Minneapolis, WCCO, I believe that it was, did that about the schools and the superintendents, or Fox 9, whatever it was, about how much they get paid. But do those, how much they're paid, does that reflect what does that paycheck, does that salary of the superintendent reflect on test scores or rating and writing, graduation rates? Because I believe they're not. It's not. If it was put on a scale or tier, that would be tier 1. A lot of these superintendents would be tier 1s because they're not successful. They have years of unsatisfactory results. These aren't, a lot of the things people will put up, oh, these are lies or blah. It's not lies. A lot of people just don't want to look at the truth. They don't want to look at the truth because it hurts. And nobody likes the truth. A lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people do go searching for it. And I'm always be that way. I always want to be a truth leader, a true seeker, not a truth leader, a true seeker. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way that it always has been for me, right? I really just don't understand how a lot of people can say that they want change, but we aren't getting it, right? Because I'm gonna say this again: if you can't lead your house, how can you lead the community? And I'm talking about people that are pastors, deacons, church leaders, city leaders, especially if you're Black. If you have skeletons in your closet, that's why I don't understand why a lot of people get up here. And the mayor, he was running for mayor out in Fall River, Massachusetts, but people were online because first of all, he was gay and he wasn't comfortable in his own. In my eyes, I don't feel like he was comfortable in his own skin. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that it's the truth. That's just my opinion. And I feel like a lot of people saw it like that. They saw it that it was just a grift for him. He didn't want to make real change. He just wanted to talk about it. The same thing with Omar Fati. What people have to realize, this is why I get a lot of frustrated at Black leaders in Minneapolis, because they'll endorse or say Jacob Frey, but then in that conversation, that's the only way we can go. No, it's not. That's the way y'all choose to go. That's your choice, because there is a whole nother candidate out there that you guys don't want to have that conversation about because you think that he's a Republican instead of that he has conservative values. I don't understand that. It's really like, because I will tell you like this: in St. Paul and Minneapolis, progressive policies aren't the thing anymore. Are liberal. We need more conservative family. And I'm not talking about Christian values, but we should have 10 Commandments values, the morals. That there's so much hypocrisy in our country right now, because people will say one thing but their actions and what really comes out is different. You know, people. I'm just gonna tell a little story, right? And well, that's why I find this shit a lot funny nowadays, right? Because I'll get into political debates with white people, but they don't have any solid debates. It's always about my criminal past. It's never about what we're talking about. They'd be like, well, how are you a registered sex offender, but you're sitting there calling out the government, or you're calling out, because I'm not like that anymore. I can stand in my truth. It doesn't make me that I'm proud of it, but I can. That's the whole thing, because people think because I talk about it a lot, especially about my past, that I'm proud of certain things. It doesn't make me proud. It makes me that I'm not ashamed. I don't care what others think. You can call me a sex offender. You can call me whatever. That's not what I am. I know, and the people around me know that I'm not that. So you can call me a child predator, Amber Plank, but that's not the truth. Because when you go to Red Wing City Council, see, I just didn't go up there during public comment. I went there when the cameras weren't there, when it was just recordings, because I didn't care about that. I wanted to make change. So why is it when the cameras aren't there, they're not there? Because what hurts me the most is like when the true colors start to show, and that's when people show you their true colors, because a lot of it are this. See, I'm for Black lives. I don't want to see a gay person or a queer or LGBTQ person killed, an adult. But we shouldn't be indoctrinating our kids. We shouldn't be trying to ram something down when people are. I would just rather be acceptable of it instead of somebody trying to rush something down my throat or making me okay with it. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't that I have Christian values. No, I have family first values. I have America first values. I have two genders values. That's not a problem. It shouldn't be. It should be, I am who I am because I accept you for who you are. I'm just not okay with sitting there writing with legislation about it when we still haven't progressed since 1965. Yeah, there's Black excellence, but that doesn't mean shit. And that just showed me the other day when I seen yesterday, I was watching It Is What It Is with Cameron Mace, and they had Michael Irvin on there. And it's crazy because he didn't think Michael Parsons was going to get traded. Well, that's what happened. We're nothing but money makers to these people. And that's why I don't get mad at LeBron James, because even though our Luka or Anthony Edwards or any of these NBA salaries, is because I can't hoop like that. But they can bring talent. They can bring people out from in their community into the seats in the stadium. I can't do that. I don't get paid by charging fans $1,000 to come see me perform, to come see my talent. So I'm not, that's the one thing that I had to, for a long time, get over with, right? I had to, not that I was like really jealous about it, but I was like, damn, how are they getting paid all of this? But then when you look at the community, it's even worse than what it was. And that's like even the whole thing with Ron Edwards. That's why I really studied that, because a lot of people don't want to talk about the Holman Project, because a lot of Black people were scamming. Black people don't want to talk about feeding our future. They don't want to talk about autism fraud. They don't want to talk about daycare fraud, because a lot of them were involved or were a part. That's the same thing with feeding our future. They always want to talk about the Somalians, but Jerry McAfee's church got money out of that. And I didn't see him feeding thousands of people. That nigga was doing the same thing that we were doing with that, me, Marcus, Jen, Ashley. It was our money. I didn't write I just want to be reimbursed because I was feeding. That's not true. And that's what the one thing that pissed me off, because when we were doing, I'll tell you, it wasn't anything for 21 days of peace. It was because we loved our community. Me, Jen, Marcus, Alamar, Talladega Yee, Holly, even though that kind of panned out bad or whatever. But people were down there because we didn't care. We didn't want to be paid for taking care of our community. And see, that's the one thing, because I will tell you like this, is that the people that were out here fraudulently and wasting taxpayers' money on vacations, on purses, on new shoes, on houses, cars, our community has been suffering. We've been seeing abandoned buildings, condemned buildings. But then they moved from a very bad neighborhood in North Minneapolis, and now they live in suburbia. But our community isn't like that. Just the people that are getting paid, they're changing their zip codes. They're not making that zip code better. No, they moved from that zip code. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So even like right now within Minneapolis, right? Because I know in Ward 5, Jeremiah Ellison is taking a lot of heat right now. He has a fellowship at Harvard where he's getting paid for, but he's not in Minneapolis. He can't participate virtually. He can't vote virtually. So he has to be here in person, and he's not. Is that helping Ward 5 in Minneapolis? Or should Jeremiah do the right thing and let somebody else step in there that wants to change their community and not take a fellowship that takes them away from a place where they represent, and they can't do nothing for the people? So in my eyes right now, the people is not being taken care of, right? So Ben says, look at past Black behavior from L. Flowers, DWI, Malik Rucker, Chanda Baker's son, Camel. That's what I'm saying. Camel J working with Don Samuels with Wife Organization, Jeremiah Ellison, Keith Ellison, Feeding Our Future. Right. It is a pattern. And to me, that's why I wanted to point out with not only just Marques and Nekima, but also John Thompson, also Jerry McAfee, Brian Herron, L. Flowers, Lisa Clemens. I mean, like, come on now. Even Shiloh Temple. There's a lot of people that are out here claiming to be that we should worship false prophets instead of knowing what we know is right in our hearts. That's what I don't understand, man. I just really don't. So I just really want, I know it's almost, I got about 13 minutes left because I'm trying to keep this about an hour and a half. This is a call to, real leaders, real leadership, because we can't be afraid. What we know is the truth. We can't be letting lies be louder than the truth. And that's where I say people need to stand up. That's where people need to be loud. And not to be proud. But be proud that you're not like that anymore. Be proud that you're not a drug dealer. Be proud that you're not a pimp. Be proud that you can sit here and do things for your community and don't care if you're getting paid for it. That's the one thing, because a lot of people in 2021, when the babies died over north, we spent our own money. None of that was, a lot of it was donations, Mankato. There were enormous people in Mankato. I love them. That's where I met Robert at. I had families come out from Mankato, Minnesota, to Red Wing to fill food pantries. I had people that were in Faribault give tents. And I'm not talking about tents. It was for like when we would do events to keep out of the rain. You know what I'm saying? We had a basketball hoop out there, bouncy houses. I remember even July 4th, 2021. People want to talk about all the gangs or hoods or whatever. But we honestly, from that area on 36th and Penn, brought everybody together and did a fireworks display competition. It was me and Marques and Alamar and Talladega Yee versus the natives, the Native Americans. We had some I don't know what they are, but, you know, 2 different crews or whatever. And we just did us. We did us. We made sure that the people were good. It didn't matter if it was, you know, that's the one crazy thing is because people always ask me about, oh, you're a Democrat operative, or no, I'm not. I'm not none of that. I never did any of this for money. If I did, why didn't I ever take that bribe from Red Wing? And that is real. You can look that up. That's what I don't get a lot of these people. You know, a lot of people just get on here and say shit that they know nothing about. They know nothing about, but yet they think they know everything. So I just want people to get involved. Don't be sitting here twiddling your thumbs and wishing you could do something because you couldn't get involved. You can. It's a choice. You choose not to get involved because you have skeletons in your closet. You would rather keep on living lies and narratives than stand up for the truth. And that's why there's so many people. Doesn't matter if it's Minneapolis, doesn't matter if it's St. Paul, doesn't matter if it's St. Cloud, Owatonna, Albert Lee, Rochester. You have so many people that are supposed to be community leaders that are paid puppets. Same thing with nonprofits. Same thing with churches. So I know I'm gonna get up out of here. I know we really got into some shit today, and we are gonna get deeper. But I am gonna reach out to Tom Evanstad. I'm gonna reach out to Philip Parrish, Laverne Turner, maybe even some council members over north that are running or campaigning. I might reach out to a few of them just to see what their platform is about. What are they want the voters to know? Because I want people who are normally aren't informed to be informed. And I want people to pay attention to what was going on in our community so they're not blindsided. It's not something that we can, before it gets too far, we can actually take control over it. You know, we don't have to always let it get out of hand. You know, it doesn't always need to be like that, man. But I'm going to get up out of here. I want everybody to have a great Wednesday. And I think Rev comes on tonight. I'll finish watching Professor Penn because I know that was some stuff that needed to be talked about, especially when it came to certain communities. And I think that's what I'm going to do tomorrow is talk about Professor Penn and the podcast, because I'm going to probably reach out to him and see if I can bring him on my platform. So with that being said, I want everybody to have a great Wednesday and everybody get along. Just do something. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be something big. It can be small. Writing a letter to your representative or your city council member about something that is going on in your community. So with that being said, I'm going to get up out of here. And here is Joyner Lucas and The Way I Am. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Same time, same place.
Joyner Lucas, real powerful artist. What is it about him that you like?
He was saying a lot of lines that I saw some of me in that, but at the same time, it was different because it was like he's not compromising bars to tell his story. He's still got complexity in there. Like he's taking you on his journey. And I never snapped out of that journey till it was over. And I was like, yo, this kid is fucking incredible.
Straight out the mud, the kitchen is dirty, just hit up the plug and caught me at 30. I'm not who I was, the vision was blurry, I'm seeing shit clear, that picture is murky. When I was a kid, I thought I was worthy of feeling some love, but love ain't deserve me. I wish I knew then that love and that hurt me. I'd sever that bridge before it can burn me. My mama was hard, my daddy concerned me, was beating my ass and showed me no mercy. He thought he was Joe, them whippers were dirty. He tried to make music, the shit wasn't working. He taught me to rap, was practicing early. I wanted to dab, but he never heard me. He traded his son for power attorney, I traded his love for diamonds and Birch. I'm not who you knew, don't act like you know me. A lot of shit changed. I'm not like the owe me the money and fame. I never control me, but I went through things I wish they told me. I still need to change for niggas who owe me. I won't take the blame for calling you broski. That's really your name. You used to be Brody, but now you a lame. You niggas can blow me. A whole lot of money, a whole lot of fakes. Reside in your body, I know how to trace. I don't really stack cause I know how to shake. If I wanna stun, I just pull out the safe. Whole lot of cake and I know how to bake. Parking lot pimpin', I pull out the race. And bury you niggas and pull out the rake. You showing your card, but you still not an ace. Some niggas tell me I remind them I am. That MMLP album had me on 10. The shit I was going through made me a stand. A lot of that pain I've been still holding in. Niggas who hate them the same ones who hate me. The smile on my face and me shaking my hand. Crazy how even back then always knew that one day I release.